Well, talking about floats that have gone bad, the social media giant Facebook took a leaf out of the Myer playbook, floating itself and then sinking. However, many new Facebook shareholders are unfriending it already, and they're gearing up for a class action. It's also got a posse of regulators on its tail.
We try to provide for openness and fairness in the marketplace. That's been a consistent concern of my office, and this is another case where some evidence appears to be out there that some investors were given other information. The question is, does that evidence exist? That's why we put a subpoena out.
Well, lots of lawsuits flying in the US at the moment, but do investors have anyone to blame but themselves?
To a large extent, there has to be some buyer beware in issues like Facebook. It was well hyped before the issue. The valuation, it's not my type of stock, 100 times earnings or whatever. It was priced on promise, and the end result's what we've seen in an environment that's again reflecting greed. And the markets don't learn, despite what's happened leading into the global financial crisis. Greed will still pop its head up, and things like this will happen. I don't think investors can always walk away and just say it was someone else's fault if we lost money. These investors wouldn't be complaining today if the share price was high. So I mean, you just can't just blame everyone else but yourself on some occasion. I think not fully understanding what's gone on in terms of the presentation that Facebook's done. There has to be some buyer beware in these situations.
And as you say, Peter, it was 100 times earnings multiple. They were talking about earnings of $1 billion, and yet it's got a market value of $100 billion. So does that sort of send out the message to investors that they should steer clear of these sorts of floats?
It's hard to know. They got off to a terrible start when Nasdaq couldn't even get the opening trades matched up correctly. So you'd have to think there'll be some sort of correction on that price. I mean, 100 times earnings won't go on forever. There's absolutely no way known that it will stay at that level.
What does it mean for monster floats here in Australia? Is there any appetite for a major float here in Australia?
Well, I think that's an interesting issue because we've still got all this money going to superannuation. We're now up to $1 trillion, perhaps going to 2 or 3. But the great floats that have come, whether they be the Commonwealth Bank or the Woolworths that have sucked money out of the market, aren't coming. And, personally, I think, the investing environment, the financial industry in Australia is at an inflection point as to what we actually do with all this money.